I want to start by asking you, as co-chairman of the 9/11 Commission, what your basic reaction is to this study by the Center for Public Integrity that shows there were 935 statements, false statements, by these top 8 administration officials.
Well, I commend what the center has done. It's taken exhaustive research to go through all of the statements made by these top public officials and to pick out the instances where they just flat out told us what was not the truth in order to move us towards war in Iraq. And I think you've performed a very valuable public service. And I hope the lesson that arises that comes from all of your work is that all of us have to be more skeptical of statements made by our public leaders and scrutinize those statements with very great care.
Do you think that the public opinion then was manipulated in this case?
I think public opinion was manipulated here. A lot of statements were made by high-level officials which were not accurate. Now that could have been intentional, or it might have been unintentional. There's no doubt in my mind that the president wanted to go to war. No doubt in my mind that his administration basically wanted to go to war. I think probably many of these public officials believed what they were saying. But the fact of the matter is what they were saying was not true. And in that sense, they certainly manipulated public opinion towards support of the war.
I'd like you to address the issue about the press, the media, as well as Congress, and how well they performed during this period.
Well, I think the media became cheerleaders, by and large, in support of the war. They, no more than the ordinary citizen I was talking about a moment ago, scrutinized what was being said. And I can recall article after article, public statement after public statement on television, all around the theme of rallying behind the troops and stirring up patriotic fervor in the nation. Now, I don't think the media performed their job well at all, because their job is to be skeptical. Their job is to look at the statement any public official makes and tear it apart, find out if it's true or not, and they didn't do that. And some of our very top organizations in this country that are renowned for their journalism just were asleep at the switch.
How about on the side of Congress? Is that a place where there could have been more scrutiny as well, or what's your opinion of that?
My opinion is that Congress was very timid. They didn't do their job. I have been critical of the president for leading us into this war. But the criticism goes equally to the Congress. They had the same information the president had. They didn't ask the tough questions. They didn't think about it. And the resolution that they passed was a resolution that said, in effect, after citing all of the false evidence with regard to weapons of mass destruction, the resolution said, Mr. President, it's your problem, in effect. And it was a default on the part of the Congress of their responsibility as a co-equal, separate, independent branch of government. They just didn't do the Congress didn't do its job.
If you take this body of work that we're releasing, in fact, and which shows 935 times that this was said, as a whole, I mean, maybe deception is too strong a word, but in fact, there is an orchestration there. Is there not?
Certainly the statements are misleading, I believe. Misleading on a hugely important question. Right. Do you go to war? There are a lot of consequences of going to war. Human consequences, economic consequences, political consequences. And there was clearly misleading of the American people here. Was there deception? I think so in some cases, and in other cases probably not. I think the president got the intelligence that he wanted. That's usually the case. Not always, perhaps. We've had an instance in the very recent past on the National Intelligence Estimate on Iran's capabilities in developing nuclear weapons and what they were doing, the fact that they suspended that. I think that's a case where the president got information he didn't want. Right. But if you look back decades, I think in almost every case, on a big issue that a president really cares about, the president gets the information he wants. Now, that's a serious matter, because what it means is you have a politicalization of intelligence. The ideal that many of us point to is that the intelligence chief ought to say to the president, this is what I know, this is what I don't know, this is what I think I know, and Mr. President, when you start talking about policy, I'm out of the room. But at the end of the day, what counts is the integrity of the person. And if you have an intelligence official who is not honest with himself and honest with his colleagues and professionals and doesn't do the job right, the country's going to pay for it. But it also applies to the politician, of course, as well. There has to be a fundamental integrity there. Presidents have a right to pursue any policy objective they want to pursue. They're President of the United States. But there should be in the process, he should be served by people of integrity. And I don't know of any substitute for that.
There are powerful interests here, as you suggested, that are able to manipulate opinion. The public, tell me if I'm wrong, I don't think has a good sense of how that really works and how their opinion can be swayed.
I think you're right. I think the American public is not aware their opinions are being manipulated. But they are. And there are powerful forces, especially in this town, who spend an enormous amount of time and money trying to figure out how to manipulate American opinion towards their own objectives. There's nothing illegal about that. But the American people ought to be aware that they are the target of a lot of outside forces trying to impact their opinion. It doesn't mean that manipulation, if you will, of opinion is all wrong. It might be for worthy purposes, but it may not be. What's terribly important in all of this is that when people face state facts, Saddam Hussein had WMD, Saddam Hussein and Osama bin Laden were associates, that they prove those facts and that they be held to account if they misstate the facts.
Well, it's that accountability that I think we're trying to achieve with this project that's at the heart of looking at these statements.
That's the worth and the value of your project. You have examined the public record in very great detail, and you are saying that these statements made by these public officials were just flat out wrong. And there is in that process an accountability that is very important for the protection of the integrity of the American system.
Thank you, Congressman Hamilton, for taking time to talk with us.